everyone, my name is Catherine Tran and this is my career speech. Feeling inspired is probably one of the greatest feelings for me. Have you ever heard a story, read a book, or even watched a movie and felt inspired to do something? Well, that happened to me when I was about 7 years old. During this time I was in swim lessons, and I recall my swim teacher calling me over, and she told me about how she almost drowned as a child. She was on a family vacation and she swam to the other side of the pool, not realizing that she couldn't reach the ground, and she started to drown. Luckily, a nearby civilian saw her and came by to save her. And she made a vow that day on that she would help prevent drowning accidents by becoming a lifeguard and a swim teacher to those and teach them about water safety and water accidents. And as a little 7-year-old girl, I felt so inspired and I wanted to do the same thing. So I became a lifeguard and a swim teacher to help people. As time went by, I realized that I didn't want to just be limited to water accidents, and I wanted to help everyone that I could. So I have chosen to pursue a career in nursing to continue to help all people. From teaching infants, kids, and adults how to swim, I learned that everyone is different, and changing the curriculum really helped. Which brings me to my first topic. I love change, and I do believe that healthcare is where I belong because it is constantly changing. I know that people have a schedule, and once it's set, there's no changing it. But for me, that isn't the case. I get tired of the same thing over and over, and I absolutely love change. Michael Hans, who is a registered nurse at St. Jude Hospital, states that the reality of healthcare is that we will not go back to the good old days. Changes will continue to come that will increase our cure and survival rates even more, and we will need to embrace them. He talks about how nowadays in the hospital they use electrical documentation on the computer. Back then, nurses and doctors had to carry around these thick 3-inch binders that held handwritten records, and they would get lost, damaged, misfiled, and just so much more, and it caused a huge problem for patients. And so I believe that changing things up and finding better ways helps to become more efficient to get the job done, and is really rewarding to the staff and the patients. Healthcare isn't just about the change and efficiency for patients, but there also needs to be empathy and showing patients that you care, which brings me to my second topic. Having empathy goes a long way. Working as a nurse is definitely going to be hard at times because unfortunately all the patients in there are dealing with ailments, and it's a really hard time for them. In my life, I have always been shy, and I have known to be more on the quieter side. But just because I don't talk, that does not mean I'm not listening. I do believe that listening to a patient plays a huge role in showing comfort. One of the patients, her name is Pat, she talks about her experience. She got diagnosed with breast cancer, and after her surgery, when she was in the room to recover, she felt a mix of emotions. She was really scared and anxious about the future, and all the nurses who came in just did their jobs and left. And she felt so alone in that time and broken. But there was one particular nurse who came in who was very empathetic towards her and encouraged her to share her fears and burdens and anxieties with her. And that nurse talking to her impacted her life, and she states that those 10 minutes of the nurse's time truly changed Pat's life. Having empathy is a key component, but overall being there for a patient and building a relationship, in my opinion, is the most rewarding. So about a year ago, my grandmother got diagnosed with a disease called ALS, which is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, and it's a disease that degrades the neurons and muscles. According to the ALS Association, average survival time is 3 years, and less than 1% of patients with ALS will have improvement in their function lasting 12 months or more. Unfortunately, there is no cure for this disease. There is only medicine to slow it down. She passed away last March and lived for 8 months. And even though it was heartbreaking to watch, we spent so much time together, and we built such a strong relationship between the two of us. We shared endless memories, laughs, and even cries together. And my grandmother inspired me to become a nurse and to help those in need. In conclusion, with the complex changing healthcare field, having empathy and building relationships, it has really shaped me into becoming or wanting to become a nurse. I want to support patients and their families through the ailments that they endure, to empower them in hopes that it gives them the strength to recover and improve their quality of life. And who knows, maybe one day someone will be inspired by me.
This is my audience.